Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight into it. So I think I'm going to name this Bronny James, Black Nepotism and Idolatry. And the reason I want to name it that, and this is what I want to talk about today, the biggest reason for our captivity as so-called black people right now is because of one of the most grievous sins, if not the most grievous sin, which is idolatry, right? And idolatry has always been the reason for all of our captivities as well, when you think about it. I mean, the first commandment in the 10 Commandments is thou shalt not have no other gods before me, which is Exodus 20:3. And we know what idolatry is, right? Idolatry is when you put anyone or anything, emphasis on that, anyone or anything over your love for the Most High, or just over the Most High in general, right? And that may sound like something that, is far-fetched, or, you have to have an altar or be praying to another deity or something like that, right? But it's not. Idolatry is one of the most common sins of our people, because remember, the word God, not the Most High, but the word God in itself just literally means power. That's all that word means, is power. So if we put too much power and energy into any entity, whether that be your crazy ex, your job, your phone, money, video games, your business, LeBron James, Kendrick Lamar, etc., whatever, it can become an idol for you, and therefore you will be in idolatry. That's something that we all have to be cautious of, whether we call ourselves in the truth or in the knowledge or not. Whatever the case, we always could fall into the idolatry trap. Okay. But like I said, that's exactly why our people are in captivity. And really, when you think about it, since our people, we don't know who we are. We don't know who we are according to the scriptures. Right. And it causes us not to focus on the things that we need to be focused on. Everything out here is just a distraction. So we tend to put the wrong energy into the wrong things or people, which leads me here to this article that's here on the screen and Mr. LeBron James, because I was just thinking about it. I was like, LeBron James is a black man's Beyonce, what it is to the black woman, the so-called black woman. It's just crazy to me just thinking about it. I mean, to me, by far, he's the most idolized man on planet Earth to the so-called black man. And maybe, one of the soccer guys are idolized just as much, if we count the numbers from the so-called black people that scattered in the four corners of the earth, in South America, Europe, and in Africa, so on and so forth. But if we're talking about here in America, I think LeBron James takes the cake easily as the most idolized man for the so-called black man, easily. And it never really ceases to amaze me how LeBron can do some blatant clown stuff and everybody would just call you a hater for you calling it out or saying something about it. And that lets me know that it's idolatry, because idolatry, it blinds you, on a physical and a spiritual level. Like, think about any time, for the brothers, just think about a time where you were doing something, you did it, or currently doing it, or did something stupid with a woman, and you thought about it later, like, golly, what was I thinking? That's why, because idolatry it blinds you, man. That lust, with lust, according to Colossians 3:5, I believe, it's idolatry, concupiscence. It's idolatry. So, yeah, and that's how I know. Again, going back to LeBron James, that's how I know you could do something very blatant, or he can do something very blatant, and then you say something about it, and you're a hater, or how do you hate on a 19-year-old, and whatever the case. Like, some people may be going too far, but sometimes people have constructive criticism, or they're just calling out the obvious, and they get called a hater. That's a dumb word to me anyways. Like, hater, like, that word is so overused. Like, y'all can't even discern what's quote unquote hating and what's actual truth. But anyways, let's keep in mind, like, something I just came too. Like, just keep in mind that the word for these quote unquote celebrities is always stars, right? And a star is in the sky. So that signifies that these people, like a LeBron James, is in the sky as a god, okay, as a power looking down on us and we looking up to him. So that's exactly why these people are positioned the way they are, and they're covered the way they are in the media. So that way we stay in idolatry, because a lot of what's going on with this, LeBron James and LeBron James Jr., aka Bronny James, this whole catastrophe is just to keep people talking and engaged, because none of this stuff really makes any sense when you think about it. It's just complete nonsense. It's a big mess right now. But anyways, again, back to this article here that we have on the screen. So this whole catastrophe that I was talking about earlier, we all know, at least at this current time I'm recording this, the Lakers recently selected with their second round pick and the 55th pick in the NBA, the 2024 NBA draft. They selected Bronny James, which is, of course, LeBron James' son. His name is LeBron James Jr. Now, within that was already something else in itself, and we'll talk more about it, but it just didn't end there. So right after he got drafted, 24, 48 hours later, maybe 72 hours, 3 days or something later, he got signed to a multi-year deal, which is just not common for a second round draft pick. And let me touch on something real quick. Speaking of second round draft pick, and I'm gonna go back to what I'm getting at here. A lot of the talking points for people is, nobody's going to do anything with the second round. People in the second round typically don't make it, which is 100% true, but you never intentionally draft someone that you think is not a good fit and that's not going to make it. Even the first pick, the number one picks in the draft that end up being a quote unquote bust, they didn't anticipate that. And none of the teams that drafted them anticipated that. You don't go in and select any player that you don't feel good about that's going to make it, whether that's the first round or the second round. That's a horrible point that some of y'all are making. Oh, the second round is just a second round pick. They wasn't going to do nothing but pick somebody that wasn't going to make it anyways. You don't know that. So it could be somebody that's picked it. Did y'all see that on the screen? I don't know why this. Let me stop this video, man. It's distracting. My boy just got the fire slapped out on. Maybe y'all don't even know what I'm talking about with that terminology, unless you're from the South. But anyways, back to the second round pick. Yeah, so you never pick someone with the thought that player is not going to pan out. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So, no, it's not logical to select Bronny just because it was the 55th pick and they, maybe they didn't have anybody else, or that person that they picked, if it was someone else that wasn't Bronny, maybe he wasn't going to get in the starting rotation and all this stuff. I mean, there's been a multitude of great players that were selected very late. I mean, wasn't Tom Brady? What round was he selected? I don't know. Maybe I'll put it on the screen or something. But I know he was selected late for sure. Wasn't Nikola Jokic? Was he selected in the second round too? I mean, I know these are outliers, but again, I'm not saying that whoever they picked, if they picked someone else that wasn't Bronny, the Lakers, that they were going to be the next Jokic or the next Tom Brady or whatever the case for the Lakers. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that at the same time, it doesn't mean that you just pick a player that you feel is not ready. Like me and a lot of other people share the sentiment that it's a good possibility that LeBron James Jr. is not ready for the NBA yet. But again, most of the stuff he's doing, I mean, it's just blatant. It's obvious. This is clown behavior that the Lakers as an organization and LeBron James, he's betrayed in this offseason. But, y'all just, again, it never ceases to amaze me. Y'all just, You know, some of y'all may call me a hater for this, but I don't care. I don't care nothing about it. Anyways, I want to touch on also the concept of nepotism too as well. So let's get it, man. Let's look at this article. It says Bronny James NBA career reportedly hits early road bump. So that's why this is it's kind of something else. So it says Bronny James might not actually end up spending much time in the NBA at all as a rookie. The Lakers drafted Bronny James 55th overall, and the pick was widely panned. It seemed to be done only to please LeBron James. Nepotism at its finest. Well, yeah. So the thing about the nepotism thing, so it really trips me out too. A lot of people are admitting that it's nepotism, but at the same time, they're also trying to justify the pick, and it doesn't really quite make any sense. Like to me, you got to kind of be on one end or the other. Just say, yeah, it was nepotism. LeBron James got him in. Or no, he was good enough to be, it wasn't nepotism. He was just good enough to be selected in the second round. But most people are saying both, and that just kind of don't make sense to me. Like, you admit it's nepotism. I mean, even a lot of people like on ESPN and stuff, yeah, it's nepotism 100%. But he probably would have still got drafted. I mean, he still got drafted. He was ranked 10th in high school, and he was McDonald's All-American, Bronny James I'm talking about here, and blah, blah, blah. Like, come on, man. We know that this boy, excuse me, not to be disrespectful to Bronny James, this young man, because he was 19 now, this young man is, you know, without shoes, like what, 6'1" now? 6'1". I mean, nothing is kind of crazy about him. He is quite athletic. I definitely give him that. But I mean, from what we see, if you watch basketball, I mean, there's no way you could see him and say, okay, that's a star right there. That's an NBA player. I mean, if you're looking at it from an objective lens, I just find that hard to believe. But let me touch on this. I will say this now, going back to nepotism. From a standpoint of LeBron James as a father, I mean, it's got to be dope to have your son play on the same team. So from that standpoint, I would get it. It's got to be dope. And if it was just that in itself, and it happened more in an organic fashion, like say if he let his son play another year, either at college or whatever the case, maybe he transferred, because I know he's thinking about transferring. Whatever the case, he played one more year. He really developed in college, and then he got drafted the next year. It would make more sense to me. Now, I know LeBron James, he can't play too much longer, right? I mean, I understand that, but just saying, if it happened in a more organic sense, this standpoint also would just bear more weight. But again, still, as a father, I mean, I think it's dope. You know, for him, LeBron James as a father, I think it's dope. You know, his son be on the same team, and I'm not mad at it from that standpoint. However, nepotism in itself, like it really isn't an issue unless the person that's being put in a position, your relative, your son, uncle, or well, normally nephew, or whatever the case it is that gets put in a position due to nepotism, if they not qualified for the job, that's when it becomes a problem. So again, like in my case, I mean, in my perspective, in my view, and a lot of other people and individuals share the same belief, LeBron James Jr. is not quite fit for the job just yet. Now, he could be. I want to say, I am not wishing bad on Bronny James. I want him to succeed. I would like to see that. It would be a good story, you know, to see him, you know, work his way up. But I mean, from all things that we see right now, all roads kind of lead to him, you know, kind of coming in the NBA and not lasting too long, or, you know, it kind of being one of these guys that just, you know, they there, but they just kind of there, you know, hopping from team to team. You know, we might look up in 5 years, he might be to play with 7 different teams. You know how some of these guys get bounced around like that. And that could be the case with him. But if we talking like 5 years and LeBron James gone, I mean, they might not care at that point. He might be up out of there. Because we know dang well, like Bronny James, he averaged, 5 points at USC, and that wasn't a really good team. He didn't start most of the time. He had the heart condition, which I do believe was esoteric too as well. That whole situation with his heart, I believe that was a ritual. But either way, just keeping it all surface level, especially like on something I'm talking about the NBA, even though I'm touching on idolatry, which is spiritual. Either way, he had all this stuff going on, and y'all gonna tell me that he ready to take on the NBA, and he didn't even play that much. Now I know people. This is also another horrible talking point. Oh, so and so averaged only 5 points, or averaged 4 points, or didn't start. Everybody else that was in that position, like, come on now. They either had great size, great potential. There's a reason they didn't play that long. Like Kyrie Irving, like at Duke, I believe he didn't play that many games. I can't remember how many games he played or missed or whatever. And that was Kyrie Irving. I mean, you had plenty info on him to know that boy was, he was finna do his thing. And, how great he was, or, how good he was even in high school, or for the few games he played at Duke. So it's nowhere near comparable. So people just need to cut that out. Like, stop it. Stop it. It's just like, stop acting like Bronny, like, quote unquote, deserves it at this point. Like, it's okay to admit that it's nepotism. It's okay and just leave it there. Leave it there. You don't have to add the extra sauce. Don't add the extra sauce. Well, Bronny was this, and you hating on a 19-year-old, and just accept it. Accept that Bronny James would not have been drafted if it wasn't for LeBron James having a chokehold on the Lakers organization. Just let it be. It's okay. It's okay, man. And another thing about nepotism. So, a lot of people will point to nepotism in other areas of the NBA. The thing that comes to my mind is like Luke. Was it Luke? I think Luke Walton, right? Bill Walton's son, Luke Walton. He played for the Lakers. Was he the best player? Heck no. I mean, did he really, quote unquote, deserve to be there? I'm not sure, especially how much he was actually playing, like maybe getting to the league or something, but actually like hooping, like getting as many minutes as he was around the time Kobe was still playing. I don't know about all that. That was probably nepotism too. I would say, matter of fact, 100% nepotism, 100%. However, come on, man. It doesn't mean that you can use that as a talking point. It's not a good argument to say, because somebody else did something, then that means this is justified. That's not a good argument that people are making. You have to understand, like, when you're making a point or an argument, you can't use something that you condemn as something you're using to justify your point. So the same people that talk about nepotism, or so-called white people putting people in position, in their relatives and their sons in position, like they've been bringing up, like Dallas with what's the owner name, whatever the owner name is for the Cowboys, using him and whoever else he got to run the organization. You using that, you condemn it, but then at the same time you're saying that it's okay that LeBron did it, and you're using something that's you don't agree with as a reason to justify what he did. That doesn't make any sense. So if you don't believe in it, don't use that as a point to justify for LeBron doing it, because both actions should be condemned then, right? So, and by the way, I don't have a problem with him using this, but again, I just think that you have to make sure that that person is qualified for the job too. Or at least, like, okay, let's take the scenario that Bronny, he he maybe even if it was this draft, he didn't get drafted, but he ended up getting signed on later. They worked him out. He got signed. I think less people would be talking about this. And from the Lakers standpoint, it would show that, okay, we not doing stuff just because you want to do it. All right. Or maybe I just think the best scenario was for Bronny James was to at least wait one more year if he was going to be ready then. I mean, some would argue he probably wouldn't be ready in 1 year, but, I can't say that for sure or nothing. We would just have to see. But I think if that's the case, say if it was the second year, he still didn't get drafted, but LeBron got him at least, a chance to get worked out, to try out for the team. I mean, the Ball brothers just did that, right? So ain't nothing wrong with that, using nepotism in that way. But now you kind of just forcing your hand when you do stuff like this, because there's no way they would have, the Lakers would have drafted Bronny, and Rich Paul talking about he had to call other teams for them not to draft Bronny. Like, get out of here. Either that never happened at all, or Rich Paul, either he never called anybody to stop them from drafting Bronny, or other teams were looking to draft Bronny, but they were only doing it to get LeBron James or something to that extent, as some type of bargaining tool. And another thing about nepotism. So another point is Giannis. So people say Giannis with his brother, I believe his brother's name is pronounced Thanasis Antetokounmpo. So with Thanasis, he's on the team because of nepotism. Giannis is the reason he's probably still on the Bucks roster. I mean, that's clear as day. However, when Thanasis, when he first got drafted, I believe Giannis was a rookie and he was only averaging like 6 points or something like that. So he didn't have any pull to get Thanasis in the league like that. Was that really nepotism? I guess kind of like indirect nepotism. Like, okay, well, Giannis in the league, so we'll try to get his brother too. I guess indirectly, but he didn't pull strings like LeBron did. He didn't just force his brother in the league like that. At least I don't believe so. And then Thanasis, like, we ain't gonna act like the brother ain't like what? So he got to be somewhere between 6'7" and 6'9". I'm assuming. I literally don't know how tall the brother is, but I'm assuming he is. And it appears to be very athletic too. So he got that going. Because again, when you draft the NBA players, like a lot of times they at least be athletic. If they don't end up panning out, it's not because you didn't know that, or a lot of times when they draft these players, it's based on potential. So a lot of times they have the size, they just don't end up panning out. But it's not often that you take someone that's 6'1", under 6'4", or whatever the case, and they just not an amazing player. Let's just stop it. Let's just be real about it. All right. But again, this is how I know that it's idolatry. And we just have to watch this, because again, I see brothers that call themselves, in the truth, in the knowledge, whatever the case, and they be right along with this stuff. Yeah, y'all hating and on LeBron James and all this stuff. Like, man, like all the stuff I've been saying on here, it's not hating, man. It's just not, and you only view stuff as hate when you in idolatry. Are you putting somebody on the pedestal and you don't want them to be criticized? The first thing you hear about somebody or something that you put in the pedestal, your mind just automatically start making excuses. Well, it's just hate, especially when you can't use logic to make an argument. You just say, oh, it's just hate. Or you just use another point that don't really make sense, like somebody else doing it. White people did it, so let us do it. White people have been doing it since this country, since this country started. So that means we need to do it? Not necessarily. Again, if we talking, there is a good nepotism. I'm not saying that, or nepotism can be good, I should say. I'm not saying that you should not put your people on or we should not put our children in a better position based on the different advantages that we have, not to use our pool, our leverage to put our relatives or whatever in a better position. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is just remember they do need to at least be qualified. Y'all ever refer someone, whether it be your homie, homegirl, your brother, sister, friend, maybe your parents even. You ever referred them to a job and they made you look stupid because they went on there tripping? I know that happened to y'all before. So, you don't want to be that person, all right, that you quote unquote nepotism. You put somebody in a good position based on your name, and then they not qualified. It's just, makes the whole thing messy. And a lot of people don't like nepotism in general. And me personally, again, that's the only time I have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with nepotism in general. I really don't. That's why I said when I first started talking about this, at least this part of it, I think it's dope from a standpoint of a father. It's just handled very messy to me. This whole situation is just a catastrophe. Let's keep reading. It says the former USC star, I think that's used kind of loosely, who struggled mightily in college. Well, yeah, there we go. Agreed to a 4-year deal worth up to $7.9 million. So that's the thing about this. I mean, second round picks, for what I remember, they normally don't get signed this quick. That's all I'm saying. And again, nepotism. Yeah, he used his son. He got his son paid. Okay, that's cool. But I don't know. It just sends the wrong message. And that's probably why nobody at this current moment I'm recording has been wanting to go to the Lakers. That's probably why they look at all this like, I don't know about that. That's going to be a huge distraction. Do I want to be part of that clown show? I bet a lot of the Lakers that's currently there don't even want to be there no more. AD probably looking crazy himself. There's been a lot of chatter that because it's a one-way deal, Bronny would be with the Lakers the entire time. That might not actually be true. It says Bronny James reported contract details are out, and it's an embarrassing look for the NBA. I agree. He's earning the kind of money post people drafted in his spot couldn't dream of making on a rookie deal. Nepotism at its finest. Yeah, nepotism at its, that's true. If it was done, let me go back. If it was done another way, it probably, damn, did it again. If it was done another way, it wouldn't be, we wouldn't be looking at it like this. So Bronny James reportedly will go to the G League. While fans might have thought Bronny would waste away at the end, this you can tell this article is biased. You can tell whoever wrote this don't really like LeBron James like that himself, or at least he doesn't like the way LeBron James moves. I believe this dude was named Travis something. At least the owner of Outkick. Travis something. Y'all probably know. Well, this guy's name is David Hookstead, but I can't remember the actual owner of Outkick. I think Travis is first name, last name, something like that. But anyways, but you can tell the way his wording, he don't really rock with what LeBron James doing at least. So while fans might have thought Bronny would waste away at the end of the bench for the Lakers, he might be bound for the South Bay Lakers. Adrian Wojnarowski reported the following during a Wednesday appearance on ESPN when discussing Bronny James. Well, that's what the Lakers' expectations are, is that he'll largely be a G League player like almost any 19-year-old player coming into the league drafted in the second round. No. See, this is the problem. You see how he's framing this? See, on one end, it's like, oh, he worked so hard. He deserves to be here. He was ranked this in high school. He has defensive upside. He's a great defensive player and all of this. And I believe Nick Wrong said that we're going to look back in 10 years and he's going to be the best player in this draft. You're going to say all that stuff. And I'm not saying based on this statement, these things can't be true, but you say all this stuff and kind of frame him like he grinded to be here and he's shown that he's that type of player. But then at the same time, you know, he'll largely be a G League player like almost any 19-year-old player coming into the league drafted in the second round. That's crazy. That's crazy. Especially at this point in time of the season. I don't believe that they think, you know, every team that's drafted somebody in the second round, they like, yeah, he gonna be G League. He gonna be G League. Now, do a majority of them probably go to the G League when they first get into the league? Probably so. But not all of them. Again, there's some second round players that end up doing amazing. I should have looked at a list or something, but I know there's a ton of second round players that end up, you know, doing very well in the league. Either being serviceable players or being all-stars or even like Jokic where he end up being a champion. But anyways, I think what you'll ultimately probably see is Bronny James in the first week of the season on the court with his father in a very, I don't want to call it ceremonial, but the eyes of the world will be on that. Well, say it. You call it ceremonial or ritual. Ritualistic is kind of a better word. They'll do that the first week of the season, but there's no expectation Bronny James is going to be in the Lakers rotation. He'll spend a lot of his time playing with their G League team, which shares a practice facility with the Lakers. So this is a problem that people have too. So you already anticipating that you're going to have him on the court just to say he's on the court to play with LeBron James. He's probably going to throw him an alley or something. It's going to be the first father-son alley, the first father-son assist, the first father-son this or that. And ESPN going to have all these stats for first father-son whatever in the history of sports and NBA, all this other stuff. But you're anticipating that if it happened organically and it just, again, it happened like that. Bronny either was not drafted this year, he worked his way up and he got a spot. He played at the end of the year or something. Somebody got hurt. They called him up from the G League. He got on the floor. No problem with that at all. But you already anticipating that you already putting on the show. You already saying this is how it's going to go down. This is why people call LeBron James a clown or call the Lakers organization a clown show at this current moment. This is why people like me say these things. This is supposed to be professional basketball, not a show or like this dude, like what they call him, Woj. This is not supposed to be some type of, at least to the average viewer, when you know what you're looking at, you know this is all entertainment. It is all entertainment at the end of the day. Everybody knows that. But I'm saying like a blatant show for entertainment. It's supposed to be about competition and basketball and the both teams fighting to win a game. But you showing right here that, you know, at least the Lakers are showing right here that they're not interested in really winning anymore. They just interested in just doing whatever LeBron James want to do and him living out his dreams and fantasies about playing with his son. Another thing about that too, didn't Bronny say that he didn't even plan on, you know, playing with his father like that? Like that wasn't really a goal of his. I believe I saw that. So that's why, again, like to me, it seems that LeBron is just doing what he wants to do, not what his son wants to do. So you could say like, you know, he a father, this and that, great father, which I'm not saying, I think he is a great father from what I know. All surface level stuff, all surface level, because what these people actually do on the, you know, behind closed doors is a whole different thing. So from a standpoint of, raising his children and all that. I mean, I think he's phenomenal at that. But I'm just speaking on him as in general. Like, to me, it's just something he's doing for his ego and something that he's doing for him versus his son. Because I think from surface level, from what I see, Bronny, he would have still wanted to hoop even if it was next year. Or say he got into the league later on, like he got called up from the G League or whatever the case. Whether that be this year or next year, I think he still would have been fine with hooping. Or even if LeBron James wasn't on the team at this time, he retired next year. Or he get in the league in 2 years. I think he still would have been fine with that. He took 2 years to get in there. I don't think he was really tripping about playing with LeBron like LeBron tripping about playing with him. Because we know LeBron has stated that several times. For years now, he stated that he wanted to play with Bronny. When they did the math, he like, oh, shoot, I got a chance to play with him. All I got to do is just stay in the league until, 2024. My son to be eligible if he one and done. But come on, like, speaking of one and done, just saying that out loud, Bronny he never appeared to be no one and done player to me. Anyways, it says the Lakers paying Bronny James a full NBA salary to play in the G League. If that happens, just goes to prove how absurd the situation is. Yeah. Instead of just signing him on a two-way deal with a much lower salary, the Lakers gave him millions of dollars to please his dad. Exactly. So that's why I'm like, again, if you can't see this, you don't even have to use as strong as a stance as these guys are using in this article. But if you find nothing wrong with this at all, and if somebody brings it up, you're calling them weird, you're saying they're a hater, and this and that, you, my friend, are in idolatry 9 times out of 10. It's just too blatant. It's just too obvious. And again, you can't see it. It's really issue with you versus, there being an issue with us, people like me that's bringing this stuff out, or people in several medias and media outlets and whatever the case is bringing this out. As I wrote Wednesday, his deal appears pretty unprecedented for a guy picked 55th overall. Why is a guy who couldn't average 5 points a game at college getting millions in guaranteed cash? That's a good question. I mean, why do people act like you got to be hating to ask these types of questions? This is not a hating question. This is not something off-putting or anything like that. I mean, it's just common sense. Everybody know that this is not normally the case. Like, come on, man. It's just blatant. The answer is because Los Angeles would do anything to keep his future Hall of Famer father happy. True. That's all it is. Will Bronny find success in the G League? I hope so. Time will tell, but he has a much better shot developing somewhere he can actually get on the floor than at the end of the bench with the Lakers. Let me know what you think. So, yeah, I agree with a lot of stuff he said in this article. So, again, I'm going back to idolatry. I just find it really interesting how LeBron James is idolized in this society by the so-called black man. It's just, I'm telling you, it never ceases to amaze me. Like, people make this argument against Michael Jordan and LeBron James. I've said it several times before. I think if you even saying that, if you even think it's a competition, I think you two may be in idolatry too. Now, look, I'm not talking about favorite player. I'm not saying if LeBron James is your favorite player, you in idolatry. There's nothing wrong with that, because my favorite player growing up was Kobe Bryant. All right. That was my favorite player. But at the same time, I know Kobe Bryant is not the best player ever, meaning the greatest player ever. I would never put him over Jordan or nothing like that. I don't even put him over, from a certain standpoint, I don't even put him over LeBron. But that was my favorite player growing up. Okay. And pretty much overall it still is. But I just think when you're a grown man, you should be objective. Okay, you can have a favorite player. You can root for somebody and want them to do well, but it starts becoming delusional when you say these things and you're trying to just put down Michael Jordan's career to boost LeBron James' career up, and you just arguing with people all the time, and you're making all these statuses on social media, and you're getting mad at people because what they say about LeBron James and all that is idolatry. If you're one of these people, you call yourself in the knowledge and you find some of the things that I said here or everything I said here, you find me to be a hater. I mean, you might need to go back in the scriptures, big dog. I'm telling you, y'all need to cut it out. I think that's pretty much it. I think I touched on a lot of points that I really wanted to touch on. Lord willing, this was edifying. And until the next time, I bid everyone a mighty shalom.